we're going to be reviewing This Not a Movie and a bit of the Fourth Estate, just as a comparison.
Yeah, one installment or episode.
That's James's smoothie. It's banana mandarin.
Yeah, very good.
With some Greek yogurt.
Having this.
And then the kale and all sorts of things. Brussels sprouts, red cabbage.
Oh, that's an attractive looking kale salad.
He can pick out how much tzatziki he wants. I'm having my strawberry and sour cherry slushie with glucosamine again. And that's my salad. And it's very healthy and it's delicious.
So this is butternut with some mozzarella?
Yes, melted on. Mm-hmm.
And then
oh
potato.
dear.
I think I'm going to put some tzatziki on the potato.
Yeah, well that's why I brought it out, so you could do that and put it on your
wouldn't have
salad
thought of it.
stuff.
Pauline suggested it.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that I have enough of you in here. So
we might get around to drop. I was saying yesterday it might have something to do with curtain or grape, but I think it's more to do with cognitive English drug, and I think in the Scandinavian languages it kind of means to kill. So.
Yeah. So slide that back a little bit. I hope it's still okay. And then this is my outfit for today. I'll do the spin. And
pretty fancy, eh, guys?
Yeah, I had noticed. I watched a belly dancer video because James and I like watching the yoga and the belly dancer videos. They're great. And
well, they're relaxing for me.
Yeah.
It's not. I couldn't do any of the moves anymore and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I used to like watching exercise videos, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't even have an excuse of waking up recently, but kind of sleepy or whatever. I got up fairly early this morning. I had to stay awake because I had an appointment on the phone and got a clean bill of health for another 2 months. The cancer's not bad, and I've had it come back twice. Fallen out of remission twice. Well, the second time I wasn't quite out of remission, but you could see the pattern happening.
so I'm actually going to drink my slushie first, I think, because it's not going to be a slushie for long, and it's way more fun when it's slushie. I don't know. I'll see if it's still slushie. It's not a slushie anymore. It's
is it
too hot.
Cool? That's the most important thing. If they're cool, they're awesome.
Yeah.
If they're not, they're still
good.
pretty good, but just not as good.
Yeah, I'm not. I've been wearing these pants. They're going to be grossed out, but whatever. I've been wearing them every morning while I work out for like a month.
And they're okay on your knees.
They're great. They're very comfortable. And I love them. And no, I have not washed them. They don't smell. I really don't sweat.
That's amazing.
Now,
some people sweat
for the next while, I might.
Hmm.
So I might not be. I might have to actually wash them. I might start sweating because it's really hot out now. And I don't know if it's gonna stay hot out. But when it's hot like this, like I put a screen in front of the door and I put the fan and I open the windows on the other side and I try to blow the hot air out in the morning. So I get up around 4 in the morning, which is great because it's cool, and try to blow the stuff out.
It always helps if it's a little bit of wind going, but
it doesn't matter.
I think it was pretty still last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so I actually didn't get the house that cool.
No, it's
today.
Feeling fairly warm.
Yeah, it'll feel cool to us when we go in after sitting out here.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty warm right now. Sunshine on my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be fine for while we're out here. Yeah. Like, we don't have to put sunblock on for.
No.
Just
and if you
dinner.
think, oh, James hasn't put enough sunblock on his nose, that is skin cancer. My doctor was saying today it's basal cell. The other doctor, was a dermatologist, was saying he said squamous. I prefer to use a more correct pronunciation of the Latin squamous. Anyway, it's from irritation from wearing masks. I have to wear masks because of a certain plague that's been going around for what is it, over 6 years now. And, first time I caught that plague, I had a stroke, so it's not something to monkey around with. Of course, people have been monkeying around with it for a long time. Very irresponsible. People in so-called responsible positions. So I'm going to give a preliminary review of I think it's the first episode, the first part, they say, for this 4-part series, of this Showtime documentary. It's called The Fourth Estate. Some people might not know what that means. It's supposed to be the media, so that would be print and film and stuff like that, media. As opposed to, I guess the 3 estates goes back to French political practice, not so much theory. One was the aristocracy, one was the church, and the third was everyone else, I get it, including business guys.
I thought I'd better not tempt fate because I have a headache today. Don't want to make it any worse.
You know, like sometimes Pauline.
I was thinking sunburn, so I won't need it for the amount for deck dinner, but it might make the headache worse.
I think it would, and it will help shade your eyes. Yeah. Pauline used to get headaches, and she might still, just from the glare of sunlight. One of the worst headaches she ever got was mainly from driving south, and this was around driving into Edmonton from the north. And she already had a headache before we got out, and we went to the Edmonton Folk Festival, and it was a north-facing slope, but it was warm there. It was a very nice concert, but I don't think Pauline was able to appreciate any of it.
No, it just kept getting worse and worse.
Well, not the concert.
No, the concert was awesome.
Very good. Yeah.
It was I think it was the best they've ever had, the best night.
Well, I don't think there was one local act that was kind of, it wouldn't be forced into a vacated position, but they would have been only too happy. I don't know who didn't show up, but it was Amy Mann.
It was that
Cat Power. And
Jacob Dylan or whatever.
He didn't show up.
He didn't show up.
Man, oh man, I think I would have enjoyed that a lot more than Pauline. Not my favorite. I much prefer his dad, but I think Jacob Dylan spent too much time trying to channel Bruce Springsteen and not enough his own dad. And that's Bob Dylan, in case you didn't know. And not Dylan, Thomas. And Amadou and Miriam. Right? Mm-hmm. Wow. If Jacob Dylan turned up, it would have been just a total score, 4 out of 4, 100%. Anyway, don't know what happened to Amy Mann. Amadou and Marianne put out lots of albums. I'm not really sure what happened to Cat Power. Chan Marshall, I think so.
Yeah.
Originally. But
yeah, it was great seeing her live. It was great. It was.
Yeah, she was a lot more animated than I thought she'd be. You know, like she's in front of a band. The only other time I'd seen her live, it was on film, and it was her own personal Woodstock. Mm-hmm. It was in, I'm pretty sure, upstate New York, and I think it was just her with a guitar. I think it was electrified, but I'm not sure. But she did a good job there, but it was a different kind of performance up in Edmonton Folk Fest. It wasn't folky by any means, but really, Amy Mann was more pop, stuff like that. Anyway, this Fourth Estate thing, revelatory 4-part series. Did you watch? No, you didn't watch any of it.
No, you just watched 1 part so far.
I know, and it's interminable. You know, like, it isn't that much news to me, because if you'll excuse the pun on news, it's both the New York Times. Because I worked on a newspaper. It was pretty small potatoes by comparison with the New York Times. It's called Amelior's, and I think it still exists. It's the student newspaper for the University of Lethbridge, not the biggest nor most prestigious university in the world. And the Amelior's wasn't the most prestigious or biggest student newspaper in the world. But, you know, I like to think it was kind of like, I wouldn't say cutting edge, but it was trying different things when I was on it. I used to do sports occasional movie review, rock and roll reviews, and then I do the occasional short story or whatever. So I was just trying to, well, provide a little bit of a break from the. I liked the anarchist that was on staff. He was a syndicalist anarchist. The big trouble is, I'm afraid, when you mix syndicalism, which is basically support for unions, with anarchism, you just get anarchism. But he at least had a sense of humor. There's another guy who, I'm being very charitable, I'm afraid, when I say he was a fellow traveler, but you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between him and his politics and the commies. Crypto commie, maybe. Who's really nasty kind of guy, in a sly kind of way, in a wily kind of way, shall we say. Maybe I'm making a point. Maybe some of you will know about him. Anyway, he might still be around. He was, like I say, he, for example, I had a friend who was a liberal supporter who actually gave us maybe the first comic strip in the history of the Mullers, and my friend was more interested in comedy than making political comments. Anyway, the crypto commie, or fellow traveler, Sputnik, as the Russians call fellow traveler, he loved having that first page all to himself, big, like, dude, if you're still alive, you don't put editorial comment on the front page, you stupid cuts. Anyway, he wanted to make a statement, so I think he generally had a comic strip on the front page. It got smaller and smaller and smaller till it got, well, I'm probably exaggerating when I say postage stamp sized, but he was just making a little statement, like, look at me and look at what I can do with the power that I've got to crush what he would have thought as dissent, which is just like being an average kind of person, a non-political kind of person. But that was in the 70s, and these are the kind of putzes and pukes that ended up taking over universities. I don't think he actually made it to being in academe, but it's the same basic thing. Anyway, very boring. I've been through this sort of stuff. They're going around and it's all self-congratulatory and they're aggressive propagandists. It's just they're less aggressive than people to the right and to the left of them. And so they were saying, oh, we'll get criticized by the right and by the left, but these guys hang maybe a little to the left. They've got some things that are probably, like their stand on immigration would probably be wrong, generally. Like you can't, I don't know what they think about immigration, but this will come as a huge, news, not a revelation. It should be a revelation to people on the left. You cannot have a democratic society and have a totally open immigration system. Otherwise, you end up with Nazis. But you also end up with commies. Now, of course, people on the left say, what's wrong with commies? Well, just read a little bit of Gulag Archipelago in Russian, and read a little bit of 1984, and that's about communism, okay? It's not about Margaret Thatcher's England, as one communist said to me in the 1980s. Oh, talking about. That's what I was thinking. I just, back then, I just absorbed these things. They're like body blows. They didn't really hit the head because you're going, well, that doesn't make any sense. They just pass through your head. But they're like body blows, gut punches, or more to your heart. Your heart almost stops. Where's this stupid idiot coming from? Yeah, that was a commie back in the 80s, mid-80s. 1984 was in anticipation of Margaret Thatcher's England. No. Yeah. But there's all sorts of that nonsense around. Anyway, it's showing how they're responding to Donald Trump's first days in power. I think that it basically starts off with his inaugural address or whatever, and they went through, I think, the first 100 days. So I think they're planning on doing maybe 100 days per. No, it'd have to slow down because no, it was put out in 1918, 2018. Feels like 1918, like it feels like there's a war going on. But yeah, a lot of polluted water over the bridge since then, or whatever. And we're getting more of it. Biden was, for anyone with any sense, would have to be considered 4 years of pretty well unremitting relief. So yeah, I mean they're catching the lies. There's a whole lot more coverage from them about Trump being a Russian agent, and the funny thing is, this sort of coverage should have intensified. When you look at this Iranian war and stuff like that, the Iranians can't, as Trump says, quite reasonably. I mean, Trump actually believes in respiration. He goes, you've got to breathe in order to survive. In order to survive, you cannot allow Iran to have nuclear weapons. You can, I suppose, if they're not controlled by fundamentalists. But fundamentalists in any Muslim society could take over any old time. So even if Iran got rid of the fundamentalists, they could take over again. People should be shivering in their shoes, and their shoes should be turning brown and yellow from you-know-what, from Pakistan, because the fundamentalists could take over there any time. And they've got lots of nuclear weapons. I suppose they've got the hydrogen bomb. I sure hope not. Yeah. So, like you can, with Korea, where they're presumably secular, I mean their only god right now is their current, what do they call him, maximum leader or joyous leader or something like that. You can always say, well, like if you wipe out San Francisco, you just get entirely wiped off the map. Or if you wipe out Los Angeles, I suppose they've got missiles that will reach Washington or New York. You wipe out anything like that. And you just get wiped off the map. But you can't do that with Muslim fundamentalists. Oh, you get wiped off the map? Oh, well, yeah, well, we go to heaven and we'll have 72 houris or whatever. And I understand, from what I've been able to tell in the Quran, they'll say, oh, like Muhammad didn't offer 72 houris. Yeah, plural houris, okay? Plural. Dark-eyed maidens or what, virgins or what, yeah, virgins actually. So, to me, it really doesn't matter if it's 1 or 72. It's not the sort of thing I expect from a respectable and self-respecting founder of a religion, or leader of religion, frankly. So, yeah, you cannot, people who, it's been a Muslim sound chomp well before the present era. Muslims will say, and they've been saying it back in the Middle Ages, we love death as much as you guys love life. Yeah. So you can go around saying, oh, Iran should have an atomic bomb. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead. I'm not going to be around. I've been terminal with cancer. I've got cancer now. It's aggressive cancer. I've been surviving for coming up 15 years. No, that's just skin cancer. Mild. That one's mild, very mild. So, so you can do it. Like Americans who are enthused about Donald Trump, you go ahead and do it. I don't care. I don't care what you do to Canada. But he is there to bring you guys down into the dust. That's you, United States. Putin does not want a strong United States. Newsflash. He might want a right-wing power right-wingers in power, and might want left-wingers in power in the United States. But it would be, especially if he keeps on playing divide and conquer, a very weakened power, where the right wing will be blocked by the left wing. He'd prefer to see it come to blows, a civil war in the United States. Same thing in Europe. Yeah, he's been supporting Orban, but it wouldn't matter to him what happens. He'd prefer half the countries in Europe to go kind of commie, whatever. He's not a commie, strictly speaking, and half of them to go Orban, like right-wing populist, whatever you want to call it. And he just wants to see Europe split apart. He'd love to see Germany split apart, but he doesn't want to see a strong right-wing Europe, led, of course, by Germany. Russia kind of had a little bit of experience under Adolf Hitler with that sort of stuff. We're not at the hands of Adolf Hitler. So now we're looking at this is not a movie. They left something out of the title.
What this is propaganda.
Yeah.
It's not a movie, it's propaganda.
Yeah.
So, James he left off yesterday talking about where the terrorists that were getting.
Half of the terrorists.
Yeah. Okay. So he knows where he's going now, so go ahead, James.
Yeah, so here we go. So Pauline says this is not a movie because it's just propaganda. I would say this is not a good movie. I left that out because, you see, they used up the whole of the box here. And they're going, what do we leave out? And they left good out. But, yeah. So we'll do a little bit of...
I can hold it.
Yeah, there we go. You don't have to hold it up. We don't want to advertise. So here's the Middle East, okay? Now here's the Mediterranean. Okay, we'll do it like this. Here's the Mediterranean. Middle East is here. Europe is here. There's really not much difference. But they're Europeans. They got to be different. That's for you fake left-wingers out there, okay? Anyway, Mediterranean. Now, on the shores of the Mediterranean, the people in power in Syria, the people that this Fisk guy was hanging with, they're terrorists too. State terror, okay? They're Nazi commies. State terror. When you do commie stuff, ever since Lenin, at the very least, you're doing, this is what he advertised he was going to be doing and what he was doing while he was doing it. We are doing revolutionary terrorism. There's just no getting over it. He used that many times, that formula. And he wasn't just yapping like Donald Trump so often does. He actually practiced it. And that's Lenin. That's before Stalin, okay? Stalin just, upped the ante. Okay. So the people in power in Syria, up until recently, where the guys this flunky was hanging out with, Alawites, they were Ba'athist party people. The Soviets, or latter-day Soviets, really the Russians, under Putin, even under the Soviets, they had a naval base in that area of Syria, and they had another base, it'd probably be an air base. 2 bases there. Okay, so the coastline there of Syria was not in the control of the terrorists. Okay, so we're working our way around. Oh, well, we go to Lebanon. Who's in power there? Now, the terrorists inland in Syria are, and they've taken over Syria now, are Sunnis. Okay, they're the more traditional of the Muslim. That's not to say they're better or worse than the Shiites, okay? They're pretty well universally bad, one way or another, okay? It doesn't matter. If they actually believe in the gospel truth, that's about maybe 72% of Muslims in Egypt. It's lower a few other places. But, believe in death penalty for blasphemy, for apostasy, that sort of stuff. That's about what it was in Egypt. That's the percentage that voted for fundamentalists. That's not people who are Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Al-Nusra or anything like that. That's just your typical Muslim, mainstream Muslim, is terrorist supporting. In other words, was it like 70% of support? 70% support for Saddam Hussein after 9/11 across the Muslim world. Okay, they knew he was doing what was prescribed by the various scriptures, right? And then follow-up scripture and stuff like that. Okay, so Lebanon, that was under control of the Syrian proxies, and ultimately under the control of Iran. So that was under control of Shias. They're not going to cooperate unless... Now, politics makes for strange bedfellows, but Yeah, I don't think they would have been bringing arms in to fight the people who are controlling them in Syria. No. Okay, next comes Israel. Do I have to say anything? That the arms didn't come in through Israel? Well, okay. Yeah, I probably have to say it, but no. No, didn't come. Those arms didn't come in from Israel. So then we go, well, the Gaza Strip doesn't border on where the terrorists were in Syria. Jordan does, but Jordan has traditionally been, although conservative, relatively pacific when it comes to supporting terrorism and stuff like that. Don't think it came in through there, and Jordan is landlocked. Okay? So you have to come into Jordan from someplace. It couldn't come from Gaza Strip because there's a strip of Israel in between. Small strip, but not as small as most left-wingers around the world want, but many would like to see that strip totally erased. Anyway, Egypt, no, it doesn't, it's not connected with the area in Syria where the terrorists were hanging out. Okay, Saudi Arabia. So this flunky Fisk is saying the arms for these terrorists in Syria. Now understand, he was hanging with different types of terrorists. They were just secular terrorists. But I believe the reports that said when ISIS started really taking over in Syria, the Saudis moved their armies into Anbar province. So I believe it's Anbar province. Anyway, the area, they do have a border with Syria. Into that area where it bordered. Now, what were they thinking? Or did they do that at all? So, this idiot was saying the Saudis were providing arms to Al-Qaeda. Well, what happened to Saddam Hussein? After the war was won in Afghanistan against the Russians, the Taliban won. Saddam Hussein was theoretically helping them. They called them the Arabs. They probably called them spit for brains or stuff like that. They were useless. But he ended up, the Saudis said, oh, you can't come back here because you believe in overthrowing the Saudi royal house. You can go to Sudan. Or it worked out that we went to Sudan. And then he ended up in Afghanistan. No one wanted him, most particularly the Saudis. The Saudi royal family. The Saudi royal family does not want Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Al-Nusra, or whatever getting into their kingdom. So it made sense when I heard reports that they were moving their armies in to keep ISIS out. Now, they could have been supporting Al-Qaeda against ISIS. That's a possibility, but it's low-level possibility. So, okay, you go next. What else? We're going counterclockwise. What comes next after Saudi Arabia? Oh, it's Iraq. Well, Iraq at that point in time was under the control of Shiites. I think it still is. And they were being powered by the Shiites in Iran. Keep in mind the terrorists, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, so on and so forth in Syria, Sunni.